Hello, my movie peeps. Thank you so much for clicking on an episode of Side Flick. My name is Chris. Got movie news off here to the side? Let's discuss. Some of the things we're going to be talking about here today, guys, is of course the writer's strike currently going on. I know some might not consider it the most exciting news, but there's actually a lot of interesting things to dive into about this. We got an update on the Five Nights at Freddy's movie of a new cast member, hinting at a possible major change from the game's story into the movie, along with the dreaded talk we must do every week, another fantastic forecasting rumor that has got me up the wazoo. So please leave me your opinions down below with everything we discuss here today. Timestamps in the description. But okay, just jumping into it here, I did want to talk about some trailer trash, because as you guys know, one man's trash, another man's treasure. We've had a couple of trailers that have released this week or so that you guys wanted me to talk about. For one, the upcoming Hunger Games prequel. This came out during CinemaCon week, and I was just swamped with talking about so much stuff. Kind of took a break. But now jumping back into videos, this was one of the last things revealed at CinemaCon for the Lionsgate panel here, and I gotta say, this actually looks pretty good. I had high doubts I was at all going to be interested in this prequel, because I'm still not understanding why President Snow needs a whole prequel trilogy trying to get us to understand him. That just like always seemed weird to wrap my mind around. I know there's a book about it and whatnot, but I was just like, really? Out of everybody, that's who you want to give the solo movie to? But I see the vision now, okay? This actually piques my interest. It looks compelling. And enough time has passed since that last Hunger Games movie where those people who saw those films were teenagers, were maybe young preteens. They're older now, so it's nostalgic to go back into this world for them. It's kind of a hot time for it to come back. So surprisingly, I'm gonna have to give this a treasure. I think it actually looks interesting. The next movie here we got a trailer for that I also didn't think I was gonna have a lot of excitement for was this Gran Turismo movie being made by Sony Pictures based off the video game, but also a true story that happened in real life, where a professional player of the game won a tournament allowing him to actually race with real racers, having David Harbour in it. Look, I'm gonna say one thing. I need Neil Blomkamp to return. That's the director of this movie. He's someone who brought us District 9, and then his filmography from there kind of dipped in quality as the movies went along, but I still contend he has some serious talent. Even just looking at this thing, it looks really good. Like, I'm loving the cinematography and the feel of the movie. I am gonna deduct some points though, because this is one of those trailers that if you watch it with audio all the way, you basically got the entire movie in this trailer. But it for sure paints for a fascinating true story. You know, a guy went from just playing a racing game to then driving with real racers. It feels like it could be a really fun and inspiring story, so I'm actually going to give this one a treasure also. As a quick off the hand one, I do want to mention tomorrow we are supposed to be getting a full trailer for Dune Part 2. They released their first poster and a little teaser showing off some of the new cast members being on here with a bald Austin Butler. Get that image out of your head, because I can't. So that'll be really exciting for people to tune in and see tomorrow. But I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on some of these trailers. Moving on from there, a small piece of movie news story I definitely wanted to talk about because it concerns one of my favorite comedies of all time, Dodgeball. We had Deadline reporting earlier in the week that a sequel to Dodgeball is looking to be in development with Vince Vaughn signed up and the original scriptwriter Jordan Van Dina on board to write the new story here. This has me excited, man. Dodgeball to me is one of those movies I just find endlessly funny. I think the film itself is just wacky dumb fun. For years, I had no idea that the main villain of the film was played by Ben Stiller. My mind kind of exploded when I first realized that. And even on that subject, this article still doesn't say that they have Ben Stiller on board, but if you're gonna do a sequel, you need to bring him back. So although maybe not the hottest news story in Hollywood, it's one that tickled my pickle. Not the right phrasing I should have used. But to my other fans of Dodgeball, would you be excited for a sequel even though it's been so long? And how many times in your life have you said, if you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge a ball? Jumping on to something here that I know you maybe have been hearing a lot about concerning the WGA strikes. Now stay with me here because there's actually a lot of fascinating things that could affect our future and how we see movies. So if you're someone that hasn't heard yet, the Writers Guild of America are currently on strike right now as they're fighting for their right for some fair wages in this new industry. This is something that hasn't happened in over 15 years, where basically all the writers of Hollywood got together, stopped, and it affected a lot of projects. I mean, there's a laundry list we could go through. In the case of like Wolverine X-Men Origins, you had that script not even written with dialogue. They had the basic outline of what would happen in the story, but it was filmed with a lot of the actors having to improvise their lines. And even scarier at that time, since there weren't any writers to write new movies, studios were going into their old vault of just bought scripts, dusting them off and turning them into films, one of them being Dragon Ball Evolution. That's a film they were like, well, this was already written a long time ago, let's just pop it on the burner and make this thing and traumatize little Chris, who really wanted a good Dragon Ball movie. Every time there's a writer's strike, there's major impacts to the quality of things, to what projects make it and don't make it out. The Justice League movie by George Miller was one of the films that got canceled because of the last writer's strike, and that's a film I always desperately wanted to see. Probably could have changed the trajectory of comic book films if that had come out. Now, to give you a better understanding right now of why the writers went on strike and some of the things they're demanding, it really has to do with streaming. We're in a new era in Hollywood where a lot of movies, TV shows go straight to streaming, and there isn't an exact model for how to pay writers for that kind of stuff. In the old model, you would have things in the contracts like residuals, where a writer would write an episode of TV, it would air on cable networks, and then through the ads being shown at that time, through reruns or first-time plays, they would continuously get checks in the mail every time. With streaming, there really isn't anything like that. There's no such thing as reruns or new ads playing in front of episodes. They kind of get a one-time pay, and that's it. And right now, writers are the ones being most abused with being paid the bare minimum as required, or some are struggling just to live a normal life. And some of the key things that they're asking for in changes has me so intrigued because it could really change Hollywood. Like, for one of the things the Writers Guild of America was asking for in demands to these studios is the ban of AI when writing. Here in a Hollywood Reporter script, we have it, concerns about AI taking over writing also are alleged to have been glossed over by the studios. The WGA wanted to regulate the use of AI and wanted assurance that it could not be used to write or rewrite literacy material, nor could it be used as a source material. That's something that the Writers Guild of America said, hey, if we give you a script, you're not allowed to plug it into an AI and fix the things you want for free, or you're not allowed to take my basic story, put it into an AI, and crank out a script for free. And when the Writers Guild took that to the studio, they said, I don't know if we want to accept that term. Can you believe that? We are seriously right now living in a time where studios are thinking about making movies generated by AI, and that should be super scary. We have seen it now, especially if you've been on TikTok. There's like AIs that can replicate celebrity voices and create new songs. I know like Drake is one of the artists being made fun of right now because they've just been making quote unquote better songs than he's capable of making through AI. And to see that we're at a point that a studio could maybe want to make the next, I don't know, Marvel movie out of an AI where they don't have to pay millions or thousands of dollars to a writer, that's a little scary. And even if I want to play devil's advocate, you know, like there's a part of me, like a small 2% sliver, that could understand why a studio would not want to 100% cut off the use of AI, because I mean, that's a powerful technological tool. The only way we advance in society is by using the technology that we have gotten. And I am a firm believer that AI can be used for good or can help a writer in a creative position if they're stuck, never to replace them or do most of the work. And from that point of view, I can understand why a studio might not want to 100% cut off the use of AI in a contract. So that's one thing right there that they're currently fighting about out of the laundry list of many things that the WGA want from the studios. The one other thing I also found interesting that could shake up the industry is this. For streaming projects, the WGA asked for viewership-based residuals in addition to its existing fixed residuals to reward programmers with greater viewership according to the document. Now, essentially what that means is the writers would like some transparency from like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, all these streaming services, and let them be told how many people viewed their show, their episode, and based on that viewership, they can get some money out of that the same way that episode would have reran on network television with ads on it. That's something that they're going back and forth on how to handle, but the reason I find this interesting is because it would mean that streaming services would now have to kind of publicly disclose how much views everything gets, and that's like a big secret in the industry right now. Netflix doesn't really disclose how many people watch the latest season of Stranger Things or how many people watch the new season of whatever random show they're about to cancel. Sometimes they'll get out there and say 100 million households watched the first 5 minutes of season 3 of Stranger Things, but it's like, what does that mean? After minute 6, how many people were then watching? They give such specific statistics that make it sound great, and they'll say it was the most watched show in 24 hours, but we don't have the actual data in front of them. We just have a fixed version of the data that Netflix wants to show us. All these streaming services don't want to share their public viewings and what people find interesting and what they don't. Because one, I can see that as embarrassing. Can you imagine them spending like hundreds of $1,000,000 on a show that got like 1,000 views? I bet you there are shows out there that get that little views and then end up getting canceled. It makes them look ridiculous, and you realize how much streaming services are spending on just putting out content in a void of stuff that doesn't get seen. So like I said, it's some interesting stuff. I know it can be complicated to follow or maybe not seem that interesting to other people, but with the strike currently going on right now, we just have no idea when it'll end. And when like these are just 2 of the many topics they're going back and forth on, it's gonna be probably a month of this going on, if not longer. And some of the movies that they've talked about already being delayed is like Sonic the Hedgehog 3, because that was in the middle of being written. They were quick to mention that like James Gunn's Superman Legacy got finished right on time before this strike, but a lot of the other upcoming DC movies that they have planned, those will now have to be put on hold, with a bunch of other shows like Abbott Elementary, Yellow Jackets, even Cobra Kai's final season is put on hold because of this strike. So we'll just have to wait and see, but I would love your guys' take, about public viewership of shows and stuff like that on Netflix and the use of AI, how do you balance the use of something like that? Moving on here, talking about Five Nights at Freddy's, we got one little tidbit of information that is kind of shaking things up in the world. It got revealed on IMDb that actor Garrett Hines has been cast as Mike's dad in Five Nights at Freddy's. Now this is interesting for a couple of reasons, because fans have been going back and forth on whether Josh Hutcherson's character Mike Schmidt will end up secretly becoming the son of William Afton, played by Matthew Lillard. That's a plotline explored in the games, but now with this on our hands right here, it could be that the Five Nights at Freddy's movie is wanting not to do the family Afton storyline. And I'm seeing kind of both sides in the community. I'm seeing some people going, oh, what the F? What? No, stay faithful to the games. How can you do this? And I'm seeing another half of people going, I actually like this better. The Afton family thing doesn't always work well. It's kind of messy. It feels like such a big coincidence. He takes a job at this pizzeria that also happens to be owned and operated by his dad without him knowing, and this and that. And even just recently with the longer plot synopsis that we have gotten, it really just doesn't seem like Josh Hutcherson's character is going to be related to Matthew Lillard. And so this is one of those changes from the games that I would actually be very open to, and I think it could be better. But even if you're someone that's like against this and you want it to be more like the games and have that family connection, for all we know, this could have been his foster dad. It could still work that way. Somebody would have had to have raised them. I don't know. It definitely adds to some interesting speculation, but I throw it off to you Five Nights at Freddy's movie fans. If it turns out that they don't go with the family Afton storyline, would you be happy or against it? Moving on here, talking about some Fantastic Four. Somebody make it stop. Kevin Feige, I need you to get up on a stage and just tell us who the Fantastic Four are, because I cannot take it with these casting rumors anymore. So yes, if you've been online the past like week and a half, you have just probably been seeing non-stop Fantastic Four casting rumors pop up, and they get interesting by the minute, okay? It wasn't that long ago we heard Adam Driver is set to be Reed Richards. In fact, there hasn't even been a new Mr. Fantastic casting rumor, so it seems pretty likely that it could be Adam Driver, which I said I would love. I think he's a great actor, and he'd probably do a good job in the role. And then you had like a wild, out of nowhere rumor that like made me just react crazy to, is that Mila Kunis was being rumored to be part of the Fantastic Four. We were all like, oh, okay, she could maybe make a cool Sue Storm. We'll see how that goes. Can't see her next to Adam Driver. And someone wanted to throw a curveball saying, no, she was possibly up to play the Thing. Thankfully, Mila Kunis went went on a talk show and debunked this, saying she's not part of the cast, but that she does know who will be in it. So I don't think it's like an Andrew Garfield situation where she's lying, trying to hide it, especially if she's alluding to who she knows is actually in the cast. So I'm glad that's not happening, and hopefully they just give us a traditional looking Fantastic Four movie. But now the kind of like biggest one going around that, yeah, I mean, I would absolutely love, but I feel like it's just setting us up for disappointment on whatever the real cast would be, is Margot Robbie up for the role of Sue Storm. Now, again, these are coming from scoopers online, not exactly the trades yet, like Deadline, Variety, Hollywood Reporter, so this can't be taken as official just yet, but it's rumors that come from enough credibility that makes you go, oh, this could actually happen. And look, Margot Robbie as Sue Storm, oh, I would love that. That would be fantastic. She's as talented as they come. I loved her as Harley Quinn. I know she's got the acting ability to do something else. She would be a phenomenal Sue Storm, and it doesn't bother me that she's played other DC characters. Heck, she could still be Harley Quinn and Sue Storm. It wouldn't bother me, you know? That's acting, guys. Too, they can play different people. But it just feels way too good to be true, and now they've set the bar so high that whoever it ends up being can be a great actress, can be awesome. It ain't gonna be Margot Robbie, and I'm just gonna be like, oh, dang it, they should have gone with her. So as much as I would approve of that casting, I'm just not someone that believes it all the way just yet. It's kind of honestly just gotten to the point where everyone in Hollywood has just been offered the role of the Fantastic Four, and we are just hearing it slowly trickle out into these scooper news. But this is where I throw it off to you guys. You hear these current Fantastic Four rumors. Which one are you believing the most? Would you like Margot Robbie? Are you as exhausted as I am with hearing all this stuff? But anyways, guys, that is all movie news we currently have going on right now, guys. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch me talk some movie news. Don't be forgetting to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.